That being said, so I want to figure out how to level set. There are a couple things that are going on in this administrator's budget, and I want to go back to the huge elephant in the room is why are we currently breaking our own IGA with the county and doing homeless services?
It's a good question. And I think the fiscal changes and the stresses on both organizations have caused us to step back from the dollars that were being exchanged in the IGA. I would defer to Skylar when she gets here. I think she's playing the part of mayor at another venue, but will be here shortly.
But you are the city administrator, and
yes.
You should know, the buck stops with you and the mayor. We are breaking the IGA, period. And you have built a budget around breaking the IGA. And I want to know why you're doing it. The intergovernmental agreement with the joint office, the new housing department at Multnomah County, which says they do all the homeless services. And instead, we have $100 million worth of homeless services in our budget. I'd say that would make up the 20% that you're trying to cut off in fall. And why is it that you all can break rules and regulations, we can't? Our employees can't. And so you hold their feet to the fire, and I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. So don't give me a budget that breaks an IGA. You either change the IGA before you do the budget, or you tell me why it's okay for you to do it.
Well, Councilor, it's a proposed budget. It's not adopted. And if this council wants to change that budget to conform to the IGA, you have the authority to do that.
No, I need you to give me a budget that conforms before. That's your responsibility to
Councilor,
conform.
there is no way that we would continue the services that we're trying to continue right now and have it conform to the letter of that IGA.
Well, why are we doing it then? Why do we even have an IGA if we're not going to conform to it?
I think the question is a good one for us to sit down with the county and go through.
No. I don't need to sit down with the county. I want to sit down with you and the mayor, because you are the one who are bringing it forward.
Happy to sit down with you. And you have
done this. And no, but I want you to say this in public. I mean, I can't even look at this with a straight face when you talk about 20%. Why were you not more aggressive in cutting the 20% right now?
First of all, trying to just hack away at these systems without a thoughtful and deliberate process to go through them, to redesign them,
right,
I think is ill-advised. Secondly, I think the 20% was discussed about what it is a very aggressive target, I think, to ask these systems to cut 20% of their expenses and try to maintain services to the bureaus. So we looked at what we thought was possible as an aggressive target. And the reason for the timeline is that we thought it was prudent to be more deliberate in redesigning the systems. If it was 5 years ago and we weren't doing redesign work and we were just asking people to water down the current system, we could have implemented on July 1.
And you've been doing this for 3 years. So the other piece is you put forward a budget with the mayor, I'm talking about the mayor's budget, to cut 63 employees from the permitting department. And as a result, if we have 63 people cut, how can we process these new 5,000 permits that the mayor is suggesting that we do, and to waive all system development charges when system development charges pay for the permitting folks? How are we expected to meet that goal? Because if we fire these 63 people, and if the mayor gets his wish and we put out 4,000 permits, who's going to process them?
Well, there are a number of questions buried in there, Councilor. One is that a significant number of the housing units the mayor expects over the next 3 years have already been permitted.
Right, but they still have change
They're waiting for those
orders.
permits to be filled. Second, system development charges do not pay for permitting staff, period. And third,
But permits do. Permits pay for
I'm sorry,
staff.
Councilor, the cost of a permit is different than the expense for an SDC. SDCs are levied against development to pay for capital improvements to systems that those developments put pressure on.
Like parks, like
parks.
PBOT. So the way I look at it, I just did a behind the napkin because you all never released any numbers relating to your suggestion. And I did 30,000 times 4,000. So it's anywhere between, we're losing anywhere between 80 and $130 million as a result of this initiative, which has not gone into play yet. But what I'm saying to you is you can't come before me and expect me to take your presentation seriously when you are breaking an IGA, you're firing folks, you're keeping human resources on, and you're saying in public that you're going to get fired, human resources, because it's half of you all are in the bureaus, and I'm going to keep you on so you can cut the budgets of everybody else, including yourself, and we're getting ready to get rid of you too. So that is so disingenuous. If I've ever seen a budget and a spirit of have no respect for employees at all, this is it. And to sit here and give us $100 million worth of new housing and homeless services, that is just out of control. You cannot expect me to amend your budget because what you brought forward is not legal, in my opinion, and you know it goes against some of the rules. And how can we expect that if the mayor gets his wish and we start building like he expects, and I expect us to start building too, it is going to take us 2 to 3 years to rehire those folks in the permitting department to come back, and they'll go get jobs. But see, you're swapping one group for another. You're saying, okay, who's more important, homeless folks or our folks? And you're pitting those two against each other. And now our folks are going to have to go on the unemployment line, okay? And now you're saying we need you to go on the unemployment line so we can take care of these folks that we're not supposed to be taking care of, and that's done by the joint office. So that is ridiculous, and it is unacceptable what you put forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Mike Jordan, we do need to move on, but do you have any response before we do so?
No, I appreciate the councilor's opinion.
Okay. Councilor Kayama Lane.
I don't really want to go next. Okay. Thank you, Madam President.
First of all, I'm sorry that Councilor Smith left because I had some reflections on her exchange with the city administrator. So I'll summarize that just by saying that this is the mayor's budget. It's not the city administrator's budget that we're considering. So I would suggest that if any of us feel the need to yell at anybody about the budget, we should yell at our fellow elected official, the mayor. The question I have is, when you say that the cuts we were making, or you're proposing, would reduce capacity to serve disabled Portlanders and reduce capacity to bring the city into ADA compliance, can you elaborate on that and say why you think that those are acceptable risks?
I don't think those are acceptable risks, Councilor.
Thank you. I'm actually going to forego my opportunity to talk about amendments. I need to address what happened earlier. Councilor Smith, I found your line of questioning and the way you approached it towards the city administrator deeply inappropriate. I have never dressed down an employee in a public forum like that. Administrator Jordan is doing his best based off of city policy. PMO was passed by city policy. All of our responses outside of the IGA were done by elected officials, and the mayor put forth this budget. This is not the city administrator's budget. I found it.
Before you go on, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
So that's all.
But I find it very troubling that the white men on this diocese can show a pattern of practice every time the black women try to say something, they want to talk about it. Councilor Novick told the city attorney not to answer Councilor Avalos' question 3 times in committee. He said, don't answer her question. Don't answer her question. Don't answer her question. And the issue is, I am trying to make a point. You are
Councilor.
at the end. He attacked me.
Comments to your colleague.
Yeah, no.
And I'm still, I still have the floor though.
This is the issue.
understand
This
the
is another time. We all can ask the questions. When you get hyped up and you ask questions about what's going on, I don't ever say anything about you. So I don't know why you feel like it's important to boss up on me asking a really, really valid question. Why are we allowed to break our IGA?
I don't disagree with you, and I actually talked extensively about this at the Housing and Homelessness Committee.
I'm not on that committee. I'm not on that committee.
Also on the news.
I'm not on that committee.
Councilor Smith, I'd like Councilor Dunphy to get to use his time.
I will simply say that there is a way to express that we are upset, but directing it at the mayor is the more appropriate target here. It was not.
In your opinion.
It's the mayor. It says the mayor's
We have
budget.
diverse voices here.
Smith,
we have
please let
diverse
Councilor
cultures,
Dunphy
and
finish.
We can express ourselves
Councilor
the way
Smith.
we want
I
to.
appreciate that. I'm
Thank
just saying
you.
that it felt like it crossed a professionalism line.
I asked a question. He never answered it.
It was more than a question. It was a question that was in bad faith, and you knew that you were unable. It was a question he was unable to answer because it was not his budget.
That's not
It's
your.
his
That
policies.
is not your job to answer. He needs to say that.
This
He
is
is the
done by
city
city
administrator.
policies. I appreciate
He is
that.
the city administrator. And if you're going
It
to,
is-
Madam President,
Councilor Dunphy's time right now.
okay.
I did not cut you off earlier, Councilor Smith, but it is Councilor Dunphy's time right now.
So I am next.
What, I guess, is that completely eliminating the program, or is that a partial elimination?
It's equivalent to about a quarter of their annual funding each
Okay,
for
thanks.
all 5 of those areas.
Thanks for clarifying that. And then lastly, another amendment, again, using from the money that I proposed in the cut package, a $500,000 general fund allocation for neighborhood livability pilots and moving that money into Portland Solutions, specifically PIMO, and for resulting in up to 5 additional neighborhood pilots for their basic neighborhood cleaning services that we've been trying across the city. So just to note that my next amendment is $500,000 general fund to PIMO within Portland Solutions for neighborhood livability pilots to try and get up to 5 additional pilots. Thank you, Madam President. That's the end of my question.
Thank you. Well done in under 2 minutes. Councilor Novick?
I apologize for taking up the council's time with this, but I need to respond to 2 things that Councilor Smith said. First, in response to her accusation that I'm a racist, I will note that I asked the city attorney not to respond to Councilor Avalos' questions in public because I think that the city attorney's legal advice should always be given in private in order to avoid violating in order to avoid exposing attorney-client privilege, waiving attorney-client privilege. Second, in response to Councilor Smith's observation that the proposed budget forces us to choose between homeless folks and city employees, that's the kind of decision that we always have to make. We always have to decide between more money for this, less money for that. For example, when Councilor Smith proposed dramatically increasing council office budgets in the context of a grim budget environment, she knew that that would mean more city employees would be laid off. That's the kind of decision we make.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Canal?